Hi, everyone. I'm Susie Getzeg, Marketing Director and a passionate leader of empathetic, high-performance teams. Welcome to my LinkedIn video series, Leading Questions, where I dive into real conversations with authentic leaders. And today, I'm super excited to invite Nicole Rex to join me. She's VP of Global Marketing Campaigns and someone that I've valued her leadership style for many years, and I'm so excited that she's here to chat with us. So, Nicole, welcome to Leading Questions.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here, Susie. This is amazing. Thank you.
I love it. Okay, Nicole, we're going to go back in time. Was there a pivotal moment along your leadership journey that sticks out to you that you want to share? It could be a positive or a negative experience.
Good question right off the bat. Like we're going there, aren't we? We're
jumping in.
We're jumping in. Yeah, there's one that really sticks out that to me I always just find so humorous, but also really helpful. So, I've been a leader, I've been a manager, and one of the things that I really always wanted was an executive coach. Like tell me all the secrets and finally like take me behind the curtain. And so I finally got an executive coach and I was so excited. And so as part of that, you interview different people. And one of the women that I interviewed, the first thing out of my mouth was, okay, so what you need to know about me is I am not really executive material. So I'm going to need your help to make me an executive. And of course, she just had this blank look on her face. And she was like, hey, you do know the reason why you're here is because of how you've been performing and who you are as a leader. And in that moment, there is something about that permission that gave me confidence or more confidence and really kind of switched something for me. So I don't know what that was. Did I think I needed to go get like a really smart bob and some glasses and I don't know. But I think all that to say, it's like, hey, when you're leading from an authentic place and you're really who you are, you're there for a reason. So at that point, it's about how do you just play on those strengths and how do you maximize it?
I love this story. And when you told it to me for the first time, what I thought was, you've always been a leader. I'm going to brag on you for a minute, but you've always been a leader that I thought, look how Nicole leads. I want to be like that. Because there's this entire generation of folks that may not have come in from a traditional corporate background. A lot of us came in from liberal arts. I know you did. I know I did. And the fact that you can be yourself, have energy, have compassion, have enthusiasm. I use a lot of exclamation points. That does not make me any less of a leader than anyone else. And for whatever reason, this perception of only one way to be a leader is something that I'm glad we're breaking down. And I'm so glad that you're yourself and that you're bringing this new way of leading and being yourself into the corporate environment.
Well, thank you. And right back at you. And by the way, wouldn't it be super boring? If every leader was exactly the thing and was a robotic, that's no fun. So, it is one of the biggest things that I would love for people who aspire, to one day manage people. I firmly believe you don't have to manage people to be a leader, but be yourself. That's what got you to where you are today.
I feel like we need that on a sticky note. Okay, so your leadership style. Where did it come from? What is it? And if you're leading as your authentic self, what does that look like?
Interesting one to unpack. And for me, it goes back to a moment where I had aspirations of being a manager and climbing the corporate ladder, whatever that was. And since learned there is no such thing really. But as part of that, somebody very well-intentioned, it was coming from a good place, but they gave me the book, Nice Girls Don't Get the Corner Office. And let me just say, of course, every book has, little tidbits that you can pull out. But I have to say, I made it through the whole book. And when I closed it, for me, it was like, well, there goes that. I guess I'm just never going to have a corner office because you know what? I'm nice. And right. And it's I can't, there's certain things that I'm not going to be able to change. And I knew that. But thankfully, I think that was the moment that I gave myself permission to be I'm just going to do what I love. And I'm going to be me. that really became kind of my goal with my career. So it wasn't necessarily, one day I'm going to be VP of marketing campaigns at a big corporation. That, that wasn't it. It was like, you know what? I'm going to love what I do. I'm going to show up as myself. It's either going to work or it's not. And from there, I just kept that. Like, even when I became a people manager and then, now really working on leadership, it's the same thing. It's the exact same principle. I'm going to be myself, and I'm going to love what I do.
First of all, that book sounds wildly ridiculous. And I'm so glad you didn't end the book. It sounds like you had a moment of like, well, but I'm glad you were like, this book is not for me. Also, if you went along your journey and you're like, I will get to this title and then I'm going to be mean about it. Like how many people, we don't want to work in an office filled with a bunch of mean people. Like, who wants that?
No, that's it, Susie. And I think it's about anybody think, what kind of work environment do you want to be in, and go create that. I mean, I don't want to work in a place where, it's not joyful.
No.
So yeah. Yep, that's it.
It's funny that you talk about following your passion and your joy. And I know, honestly, so Nicole was my manager many, many years ago, Leading Questions audience. And I remember probably it was when I was on your team, I identified the things that I needed in every job. And the job itself could change, but I needed creativity and I needed autonomy and I needed something that moved quick. And regardless of what job I go to, those are the things that I'm putting out there. Like, if this moves real slow, I'm probably not your girl. Or if there is no creativity, it's not going to work for me. And just knowing the things that an opportunity comes, maybe it feels a little overwhelming, but you're like, those things are in there that I like, that fit me, that I can bring who I am fully to this conversation and this role. Like, that feels really good.
Exactly. And Susie, I remember like one of the first times I talked with you, you were so resolute about, hey, here's what I do. This is what I like to do, and for me, it was helpful. I think that's another thing too, to know, is when you're talking to your leader, your boss, it is very helpful for us to hear what it is that you like and what it is that, lights up your day versus the things that don't. And, from the get-go, you were so good about that.
Thank you. I think it was a time when I was growing and figuring out what I wanted. But once I figured it out, I'm just like, follow that North Star. It may change and opportunities come in and come out and roles change. But like, those nuggets and the things that bring me joy every day and where I feel like I can bring my authentic self, those sort of generally stay the same. So,
and you've skyrocketed.
Skyrocketed to LinkedIn. I'm here.
I love it.
I love it. Okay. So let's talk about any professional challenge you've had in your career and how you coped with it. How did you evolve your style to deal with the challenge?
Oh, I've had a lot of those. It never ends. So I think, just knowing that is helpful. One of the ones I'd say early on, when I was a new manager, I made that mistake of, what got you there is not necessarily going to keep you there. You're going from individual contributor to now leading a team of people. The way that I had maneuvered as an individual contributor served me very well. One of my strengths was around integration, collaboration, bringing people together, influencing a way that was relatable. And part of that was building very good relationships and, quite frankly, becoming friends.
Yes.
Becoming friends with people. I mean, I like to make friends. But I learned, through some hard times, that, it's not just about being somebody's best friend. And it's not about, just pleasing everyone. It's knowing how to have the hard conversations. And so what was happening to me early on in my management career was, I didn't want to rock the apple cart. I wanted to try to make everybody happy. But by not having some of the hard conversations, by not tackling some of the problems head on, then I started to do that terrible thing where I start doing everybody's job because I don't want to ask them to do anything extra, or I don't want to have a hard conversation over here. And then I became really burnt out. I mean, part of being a leader is obviously delegation. Also, it's not fair to your team if you're not if you're not empowering them to do their jobs. And so one of the game changers for me, Allison Dew, who is our CMO, she introduced us to a book called Radical Candor. And that really kind of taught me, hey, you can be kind and clear and nice, but you got to have the hard conversations.
You do.
Yeah. And that then, it became, from there, I really started to kind of change. And of course I have relationships and I'm friendly and all that. But the point is that you got to remove obstacles for your team. And you can't do that without knowing how to have hard conversations.
It's funny. This mirrors my journey exactly. And I worked briefly with an executive coach, and that's what I worked on. I felt first year I was all positive and so many things were great, but I felt, hey, if I come in with critical feedback, am I the manager they need? And what they told me was like, yes, we want feedback. You're doing me a disservice is if all you focus on is the good things I bring to the table and you're never pushing me as a leader. And that plus the Brene Brown, to be clear is to be kind, and radical candor, those things as a nice person, like those things stay with me, that I'm being the nicest, kindest, clearest person I can when I am pushing. And I want that from my leaders too. Push me, see the areas that I can keep growing in, or else we get stuck.
That's exactly it.
I see this in the next generation of leaders too, that we may over-index on being nice and being kind, and we need to keep that all, and we need to have the tough conversations.
Yeah, yes, 100. Oh, I love that. It's not or, it's an and.
Absolutely. Okay, Nicole, let's talk about next gen leadership. I know that this is something that you're really passionate about. So how do you think being a leader is changing? What are things you're doing to lean into that, both for an individual level and like a business level?
This is one of my passion points for sure. And I'll start with a story. So it was during the pandemic, like all of us, like everybody went through, just deep stuff during that time. And for me, I really started to question, who am I as a leader and who should I be? And if I'm not inspired, how am I going to inspire a team? And how do we get through, this time? And around about that same moment, my incredible leader, Liz Matthews, she introduced us to a program called Renegades. And really, Renegades it's beyond a program. It is honestly a life-changing experience. And so part of Renegades is this notion of, what's your why not now? And why not now is all about, if it's not you, then who? And if it's not now, then when? Basically, what are you waiting for? And so my why not now became, how can I be the leader that people need at this very moment? Not 6 months ago, not years ago when, other books were written and we're still using those principles today, but like now, what are you going to do now? And so that was actually 2 years ago.
Wow.
And since then, I've had iterations of this, and I continue to have kind of why not nows built from that. And so one of the things I'm working on now is around rebranding corporate. And I know that sounds really provocative. I absolutely love corporate. I love working in a big company. It's entrepreneurial. You meet all sorts of different interesting people. And it's not really just about corporate. It really is about just new ways of working. Like what is going to be different? How can it be different? Let's use this moment in time as a reset for what we want our corporate or our work life to be.
Absolutely. And I know you said you had some tactics that you've used that you might recommend. And I'll say, first of all, that like we have to get creative. What we did before remote work doesn't always work anymore. And we have to shake it up, not work the same way. And this is part of it, both leading differently and being that leader people need, and also trying new things with your life and your calendar and your time. And I know you've leaned like all the way into that.
Yes, exactly. And to set up the tactics, what I'll say is, one of the things that we see in research is this notion of perceived control. Everybody wants control, right? We want control over our day, and that actually perceived control is the key ingredient to joy. And who doesn't want joy in their daily life? So how can we kind of take back some of that control? And as we're all maneuvering either in a remote work environment or a hybrid like ours, then what can you do? And so one of the things that we're working on, and as with any rebranding effort, we know as marketers that it's not just a facelift. It's not about just making it look pretty. It is an inside out job. Like it is hard work. And so I'm starting to experiment with that within my own organization. So here's some of the things that we're doing to kind of give us a little bit more control in our day, maybe free up some time. One of the things that I'm personally doing is what I call the out of office, in office message. So when I actually go into the physical office, I put an email, my out of office note on, explaining that I'm really working. I'm just in the office and I'm using that time intentionally to focus on face-to-face moments, whether that's networking, face-to-face one-on-ones, having lunch with somebody in the break room, walking around, talking to people. And of course, I'll have a Zoom meeting thrown in, here or there. But, let's say 80% of the time, I really want to be present. I really want to maximize that, because what's the point of going into an office and sitting by yourself and being on Zoom all day? Right?
Nicole, what I want to say about that, what I want to say about that is, in the couple weeks since you shared that, I have had about 10 conversations with people who said, did you see what Nicole did? I'm going to do that. And I did it this week too. I'm in the office. I have my out of office on for a couple days, and I work directly because you started it. You gave people permission to say, no, but sometimes we need a reminder. We feel like we have to be in all the places exactly as we are. If we're at work, we need to be the same as if we're at home. And this is a new way of working. And it's important that, like, you did it, now other people are doing it.
It can be contagious. Let's make it contagious, right? Yeah. And like these other tactics that I'll quickly take you through, it's simple. I mean, it doesn't have to be some groundbreaking, big, complicated thing. The other thing that we're doing is we're doing voice notes with one another. So instead of, again, sitting on a Zoom, having a 30-minute conversation, I'm not saying that's bad, by the way. Sometimes it's amazing. Like, of course we have to do that. That's the way of working. But sometimes you want to step away. And so we're going for walks and we're leaving voice notes for people. I'll give you an example. One of my leaders just gave me a voice note. I needed some information about some results from one of our campaigns. And, of course, she sent me her slides, but she left me a voice note. And she was like, these numbers are bonkers. They're so exciting. And I could hear in her voice that she was so excited. She used the word bonkers. It brought so much joy to me, because I was like, this is what it's about. Like, you don't have to be in real time to make a connection with somebody. And there's something about hearing somebody's voice, and they're delivering the same information that they would in a traditional meeting, but it's saving us time, and it's allowing us to go for a walk. So that's one thing. Another thing that we're doing are video updates. Okay. So, at some point, of course, you have to have meetings that are interactive and ask for feedback and have conversations 100%. But sometimes we have things that are really baked, and it's more about sharing information. And so rather than getting people together over and over and over, like, I know where we work, it's about roadshow, right? Like, we go on a roadshow and we talk about our latest plan or our strategy. And sometimes that's needed. But at some point, it reaches a point where, oh my gosh, I've got 10 meetings to go to. How many have fit this in my week? So we're recording that, and then we're sending it out to people to just watch on their own time.
It's so good. What a time saving so easily.
It is. And all of this is saving us time. And the last one that I'll mention is we're calling Fridays no-fly Fridays. No-fly zone Fridays. And what we mean by that is, hey, it's time to get grounded. It's time to land that plane after, what usually is a crazy week. And let's protect that space. Let's try not to have as many meetings, and really block that time for yourself, either to do some deep thinking, reading, deep work if you need to, but also maybe there's something for yourself. I know that I go to therapy on Fridays. Some people get out in nature. Whatever that looks like, let's intentionally make Friday look a little different.
That sounds Beautiful. I would say, listeners, grab one of these and try it for yourself. I know I will.
Yeah, please do. Oh, and I'd love to hear from people
Yes.
if they do it. Yeah.
Let Nicole know if you've tried them. I want to know too. And it's the more of us that are trying new things, the better our work-life balance will get. And
that's how we will rebrand and
100%.
reimagine what we want this to look like.
I love it. Okay, Nicole, final question.
Mhm.
Advice for future leaders. This could be someone young considering leadership, or someone who's an individual contributor who's like, is this for me? What advice do you want to give them?
Couple of things, I think. One is you're never going to stop learning and growing as a leader. So just know that, and you're going to make mistakes along the way, and that's okay. As you just heard me and Susie, you too. It's like that's how you learn, and actually,
Absolutely.
it really is true. That's how you get better. I think sometimes there's this perception of, well, once I reach this level, I'm done. I can take a break. I'll lean back. And nobody wants that. Like you have to continue to learn. And I think some of the best leaders, they just have kind of this intellectual curiosity about a lot of different things. And that serves you well. So keep learning. The second thing that I'll say, and I think this is very, very important, don't rush it. Like I mentioned before, I'm a big believer that leadership is a network. It is not a hierarchy. And that's another principle that we're experimenting with within my team is I want to hear every voice, because every voice matters and you are empowered to make decisions. And as part of that, enjoy the ride. So I know we've all had jobs that maybe weren't our favorite and we're like, I can't wait to get out of here. But I will tell you, once you do become a leader, I promise you that job did something for you. You learned something. So pay attention. Even in those roles that you're not crazy about, you're going to learn something that I promise you is going to serve you well down the road. I can honestly say that I look back and I'm still kind of bringing back some of the experiences that I had early in my career. And maybe I didn't love them, but they're serving me well now, because as a leader, you are always making decisions. A lot of times you don't have time to consult and really, spend time. And so just take your time, don't rush it. Really kind of pay attention to each job you do, because there's learnings along the way.
That is such good advice. We all need to slow down just a tiny bit, reflect on the past. I agree with you. There are so many things that pop up in my life from the past. And I think, wow, my previous life as a theater director, look how it shows up in corporate America. So it does. It shows up all the time. And I know yours does as well. So
it really does.
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you so much for taking the time and for sharing your wisdom and for letting all the nice girls out there know you can still get the corner office, just being authentic as yourself and having those tough conversations. And I appreciate you and all your wisdom. So thank you so much for
back at ya.